Yeah, so welcome to No Filter. It's been a tough year. I know it's how we start most of our things now when I'm talking to people. It's been a tough year, but it has really been a tough year. Jacob, we start with you with Mind. I mean, you've seen incredible amounts of people reaching out. Has it just been a full-on year? Have more and more people reached out?
Well, we're not actually sure of the figures, but what we can say is we became a 24-hour service back in April 2020, just to be able to meet the needs of our community and be there when people need us most. We've seen a vast range of people getting in touch with us, from adults to young people. It's crazy how many different types of people we've had, but that's what we're here for. So we encourage everybody to get in touch with us.
Fantastic. And Gemma, with Seed, you do incredible work. Has the lockdown, I mean, it's a silly question, but it must have impacted the work that you do. And has it more importantly impacted people who use your services?
Oh, massively. In terms of the demographic of this show, we've seen a 68% increase in 10 to 19-year-olds referred to us, which is just huge. And that was from 2019 to 2020, obviously the year of lockdown. And I think it's because with eating disorders, it's a very misunderstood mental health illness, but one of the key components of it is that it's about an element of control. So of course you put us into a world where all control is taken away from us. Unfortunately, those with eating disorders struggle even more, but actually as well, those who haven't had eating disorders before actually start to use food as a way of coping and trying to control something that externally they can't. So it's gone through the roof. However, on the positive side, yes, our referrals have gone through the roof, but at least people are reaching out. You know, I don't mind being busy. I don't mind not sleeping. I don't mind. All I care about is that people reach out to us. And I think, you know, sadly with the passing of Nikki Graham this past week, it's really highlighted the need for conversation and the power of words. And I think that's why with this whole Mind partnership that we've come into, it's just come in the middle of a perfect storm, really, because Mum has been doing the advice line ringbacks all on her own for the last 21 years. And, you know, she amazes me still to this day, but she spent 26 hours on ringbacks last month alone. And now that Mind have come in partnership with us, it's just amazing, because it now means that anybody who calls can get to speak to somebody instantly, rather than waiting for, you know, a period of time, 5 hours in the day, or for Mum to get round to ringing them back. So I feel like, even though there's been really, really sad and you know, devastating figures that we've seen and ramifications of lockdown, actually what is amazing and I pride myself on, especially within, you know, our community in Hull and Humberside, is the power of positive partnerships. And I think, you know, Jack and Emma Dallimore at Mind and the rest of the team have they've been so amazing with Mum and Dad over the years. And this is just, it's the icing on the cake for us. So thank you, Jack.
That's fantastic to hear. And like you said, that sort of instant talking to a human, because I can only imagine what it takes to get to that point, to pick up the phone and think, I'm going to talk to somebody. That takes a lot of courage, and it'll take a lot of work on that person's part to get there. So to think that when they do call, that there is going to be somebody, a human at the other end that they can talk to, is incredible, and that's fantastic to hear. Just to go back sort of on, because we talk a lot about social media on our show, and it's incredible, but it can also be just the worst place to be. It's particularly if you're young and if you're, you know, not being able to see your friends in schools and colleges, as it were. That's sort of where you live your life now, is sort of how you connect. And we'll see things like, you know, lockdown weight and oh, we've got to get ready for the summer, and, you know, you've got to go out there and exercise, which is what the government told us to do while we were in lockdown. Those kind of messages can be quite detrimental to somebody's mental health who doesn't have an eating disorder. But then on top of that, if they are struggling, that can be catastrophic. Have you sort of seen that with some people that have come through and used your services? Obviously, no names or ages, I think.
Jack, do you want to go first on that one?
Yeah, I think what's really important to get across is the last 12 months has affected everybody, not just those experiencing poor mental health or experiencing eating disorders. It has affected everybody in some way. Social media can be brilliant. We know that it does have its disadvantages as well. For the age that we're trying to get this message across, it's kept us all connected. I know for my group of friends, we've introduced weekly quizzes, FaceTime calls, stuff that we didn't really do before. And I think that's kind of been one of the positives, is that just remaining connected, that's probably kept us all going this last 12 months. And like, I was back out with my friends on Friday, and it was just nice to see faces, but we know that that's not the case for everybody. There probably will be people who are feeling anxious about going back outside, meeting people. It's just going to be really tricky, but that's what we're here for. That's what Seed's here for. We're just here to support people.
I think the other thing as well, Martha, is that like Jack said, you know, living our life, and you said, as living our life through social media and life through a lens, without wanting to quote Robbie Williams. But it does impact, because we're already in a world that, like, what is normal anymore? But then we're seeing images and living our lives through a screen, and as we know, there are certain apps and filters and images that put a lot of pressure on young kids. And what I do want to say is that, you know, it's important that you remember that you can't portray your life looking at somebody else's. You've got to stay true to yourself. And one of my favourite quotes is Dr. Seuss, and he says, "Today you are you, that is truer than true. There is no one alive that is you within you." And I just encourage people to, if you are going to use social media, really, really start to follow people that you find their truth in and who are authentic. And, you know, because like Jack said, there's a lot of like brilliant stuff about social media, and if you start following people who inspire you, that's amazing, because as we know, going back out into the real world is going to be tricky, to quote Jack. You know, it is, and we can't deny that, and there's no shame in that. You know, look, I hold my hands up. I'm going out tonight for a meal, and I don't even know like how to wear heels anymore. Like, what? I mean, I've just been used to wearing like my jogger bottoms, sitting on Zoom meetings and taking Ruby out with my hoodie and my trainers. But you know, it's not to be flippant, but it's to make people aware that I have my anxieties too. People might see me on social media speaking out and doing this and doing that, but actually, fundamentally, you know, I'm struggling as well. And the way I get around that is by talking to people, talking to my friends, talking to my parents. I hold my hands up, talking to my therapist. Like, it's important and it's good. That's all we need to do, is keep talking and take it at our own pace, step by step, day by day, and do your journey, not anybody else's.
Fantastic.
I think that's really good that you've opened up, because people probably do see your post, Gemma, and think, oh, perfect, everything. But that's exactly, I've noticed a lot more with social media recently, is you only show people what you want them to see. We're not going to put a post out on social media of us looking rubbish, waking up at 7 o'clock in the morning. We're going to wait until we're glammed up and we're looking fresh, with our fresh skin fades in. Obviously not me. But that's what we need to remember. Like, not everybody wants to show their negative side, and the things you do see on social media probably aren't real. So we just need to, as Gemma mentioned, like, associate ourselves with accounts that maybe influence our life and encourage us to make positive decisions. And it is, I do love social media. Obviously, I do a lot of work with social media as part of my job, but there is some things that I think we just need to be careful of, especially in relation to mental health.
Absolutely. Absolutely fantastic. Oh, guys, brilliant. I just had 2 more questions, if that's okay. I'll try and keep it quick. And Gemma, I had wanted to ask, and I've been struggling about how to sort of phrase it, so apologies if this sort of doesn't sound right.
No filter, it's all right.
No filter, hence the name. Yeah, because it was, Nikki's been on my mind, and in particular, it was, she's you know, everyone sort of knew her,
Yeah.
and in particular our audience knew her,
Yeah.
and she was sadly incredibly ill. But what I wanted to ask is that this, it's sort of like any kind of mental health issue, it's a spectrum. So you can be at one end and you can be at another end. Are there not signs, but things to see at the beginning? Because obviously Nikki had had it for a very, very long time, and it had got to such a point, very sadly, it's taken her life. But are there things that at the beginning, is it just sort of focusing on sort of food, or is it just different? Is it different in everybody, or are there things that you can sort of see early on that could develop towards an eating disorder?
Yeah, I think it's, as you say, it's really, really different for everybody suffering with an eating disorder. Without the pun, not one size fits all, you know, and it's not about a number on the scales. You know, there are so many different eating disorders, and it shouldn't be about physical attributes. It's fundamentally about what is going on in the mind. But I think some of the key warning signs for me are more about the personality and less about focusing on the behaviours around food. So, for instance, in my case, I don't know if your listeners know, but obviously it's well documented that I developed anorexia at the age of 10, and I battled with an eating disorder for 13 years, hence why my parents co-founded Seed. And at the start, Mum and Dad always say about the change in my personality, about how I went from being this bubbly, outgoing girl, always wanting to be, you know, involved in the sports day, in the school plays, in you know, doing my spellings test, going to see the teacher, you know, larking out with my mates, to not wanting to do any of that, to becoming, as my dad said, a shell of my former self. And I think it's really important to look out for that rather than the food and the external things around it. Because one of the things that we think is really important at Seed, and I'm sure Jack will agree with any mental health, is that we at Seed treat the person, not the eating disorder. You know, it's so fundamental that you remember that there is a human being there, whether it be your daughter, your son, your brother, your sister, your husband, your girlfriend, whatever. You know, there is still that person. So I think those are key things. And on our website, there are obviously so much more literature about warning signs and all of that. But I think fundamentally it's about the change in the human being. And I think one thing that is so important, hence why it's amazing that we've got this advice line set up 24/7, is that early intervention is key. It is so key, because the sooner we can help somebody, the sooner we can stop them going back on that path, and the sooner we can bring them back to being the person that they are. So I think if there's one message that we can ring loud and clear in this little program tonight is please know that early intervention and education is so paramount in this.
That's incredible. Brilliant. Thank you. And obviously, it's been a trivia for loads of charities. So if you just want to take a time just to let us know where people can find you, where people can actually reach out to use your services, in particular the 24-hour line that you've joined up with Seed, but also how people can help if they can help in any way, be that volunteering or with fundraising or donations. If you both want to just take a time and just give us all a feel, how can people help you continue to do this incredible work?
Yeah, so I think if you are struggling or you are concerned about maybe a friend or family member, you can contact Hull and East Yorkshire Mind 24 hours a day. You can call us on Hull number, which is 01482 240 133. And if possible, you can also give us a ring on free phone, so 0800 138 0990. And I think in terms of how people can get involved, again, if there's anything that you take away from this programme, I think just reach out to one of your friends and drop them a text message and check that they're okay, and ask twice. We hear this a lot in terms of mental health. We know, especially being from Hull, we often have this dialect where we greet people with, "You all right?" But we're not actually asking if they're okay. That's just our way of saying hello. So ask them if they're okay, but ask again, and just often showing someone that you're there for them and that you care can make we see it a lot, especially at the moment, but a small conversation has the power to make a huge difference.
Amazing. Yeah, absolutely that. And with Seed, obviously we've got the advice line, and that's 01482 718 130. And I believe, Jack, am I right in thinking that when they call that, and it goes to you, doesn't it now? So that's brilliant. If we're out of hours with them in our living room, it goes to Jack and the team, which is just amazing. And obviously our socials are at Seed Support UK. And our website is www.seedeatingdisorders.org.uk. And of course, you know, the pandemic has severely impacted our resources and fundraising opportunities. So we're always really grateful for anyone to do anything, even if it's baking cakes to doing a marathon, like whatever it is. Nothing is too big or small. But I think fundamentally it's about speaking to people about Hull and East Yorkshire Mind, speaking to people about Seed Eating Disorder Support Services, and speaking to people about each other. Jack couldn't have put it better. Asked twice.
Yeah, and there's nothing at all to be ashamed of. The more we talk about these type of topics, the more people know that it's okay to talk and okay to reach out. I think with mental health, and I'm sure Gemma will agree in terms of eating disorders, we can't skirt around the topic. We need to be direct, and just showing, as I mentioned, just showing someone that you care can make a huge difference.